and welcome to a very informal Thursday night on the pen. This is not your typical show that we do. I have had very little time this week to prepare for a show, but we're doing it anyway. We're coming to meet every week because I know that you get as much out of this as I do, and I just think it is important to connect with one another each week at this time. So thanks for bearing with me a little bit late tonight. I am the coach of my boys' baseball team, and as doing so, we didn't get home till just about 45 minutes ago, and we had to do showers and bedtimes and the whole dad thing. So thank you for being here with me tonight. We are doing a little bit of an interesting live stream tonight. If you're new here watching on TikTok, YouTube, or Facebook, put an N in the chat next to your name. Let me know that you're new here. I'd love to welcome you by name. We are talking about all things Mounjaro, Ozempic, Wegovy, Saxenda, Victoza, Trulicity, and Zepbound tonight, and it's going to be more of an interactive live tonight. Again, like I said, we've got TikTok, we've got YouTube, and we've got Facebook all rolling at the same time, and we're going to get into some of the news that's been rolling around in the world of GLP-1s this week, and of course, some of the biggest news. This was covered by Bloomberg, but it was first broken in this group, and I had the chance to interact with Madison Muller from Bloomberg, who ended up picking up the article on Michigan Blue Cross Blue Shield dumping coverage for weight loss GLP-1s. And so essentially what we're working with here is one plan or several large group plans in Michigan under the Blue Cross Blue Shield umbrella. What they're doing is they're changing the requirements starting August 1st to get your PA. Thank you. Nebby says she loves my content. Julie, Sue the Dude, Anna, Jessica, Ray, welcome over on YouTube. Thank you for being here. And so essentially what they're doing is if you're getting your weight loss coverage through Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, they're requiring you now to use Blue Cross Blue Shield's own basically telemedicine doctor portal where they're going to coach you, right? And they're just going to bypass your doctor and they're going to say, hey, we know better. They're going to require that you be part of a weight loss program, counting your calories, doing all those things. And that you document that for 6 months prior to being on a GLP-1. And so essentially what you have here is blocking access. And then, so that all starts, your PA gets wiped out August 1st. And then on January 1, they're completely abandoning coverage for weight loss medications. So your Saxenda, your Wegovy, and your Zepbound, all gone. And, I think that the dangerous thing that we're looking at here is that we have the potential to now see this proliferate across other PBMs. You see Aetna moving to do similar things. You see CVS Caremark moving to do similar things where they are requiring you to basically go through their program where the PBM is now going to deem whether you are worthy of the medication you take for your chronic disease. And there are no other chronic diseases where PBMs are allowed or have been allowed to basically require you to jump through hoops with behavior modifications to get the medication that you need. It's absolute bunk. Put PBM reform in the chat if you are down to see some PBM reform. This is absolutely crazy. So tens of thousands of people are going to be affected by this in Michigan, but I think you're going to start see this unfortunately proliferate across the country. Now, many people, Sabrina with a $4.99 super chat on YouTube. Thank you, Sabrina. I appreciate that. Just so you know, over on YouTube, I'm streaming live from my iPad tonight, so I don't see all the comments like I normally would, but thank you for being here, everyone who's here. So this does not affect the diabetic versions of these medications, right? So this affects essentially Zepbound, Wegovy, and Saxenda, the weight loss, the obesity management versions of these metabolic modulators, GLP-1s, incretin mimetics, whatever you want to refer to them as. That is basically what's happening is the obesity medicine, they're moving to block those. Welcome, Justin, Gino. Appreciate you all being here, Sarah. Now is the time to mention that the biggest super chat or gift of the night gives gets to pick where I inject this 15 milligram dose. Interestingly enough, because I was unable to find the 15 milligram this month, I'm jumping back to the 12.5. What did the clinical trials tell us about jumping back and forth between doses? They told us nothing. That's right. They didn't tell us anything because that wasn't clinically tested, just like the pharmaceutical companies warn us about compounds because they're not tested. Well, neither is jumping around on doses. So, Deborah, welcome to the stream. No, not so much. So yeah, the biggest super chat of the night, $4.99 from Sabrina, is going to pick where I inject this. So thank you, Sabrina, for the $4.99 super chat. I appreciate y'all being here. So that's the news on the Blue Cross Blue Shield. And again, I think that is going to be absolutely a bad precedent and just sort of a testing ground as they continue to roll this out around the country, unfortunately. I think that's super frustrating. And I think, here's the deal. What the situation with the cost of these medications is completely untenable, right? I was talking to my friends on TikTok earlier today, basically saying, you go to the grocery store right now, you fill up a grocery cart, it's several $100s, $300-400 for our family. It lasts just 3 weeks maybe on $500 worth of groceries. It is absolutely insane how much it costs to live. It's $100 every time you go to the pump. It's an untenable situation to have to be paying this much for the medications that we need. And of course, we see the PBMs now moving to block access, which is going to push more people to compound medications. And that, I think, is the end game. They just simply do not want to cover them. So again, this, to reiterate, was for several large group plans under the Blue Cross Blue Shield umbrella in Michigan. This is not a blanket, all Blue Cross Blue Shield plans around the country, just so that we are aware. But I do think that we will see them proliferate around the country with similar sort of approaches, which is very, very frustrating and very unfortunate. Moving on to some other news this week, we have learned that Vivani, so Vivani is a company that has worked on an injectable device. It's a implant, so to speak. And this implant goes under your skin, and this implant delivers GLP-1 medication evenly so that you don't have to do weekly shots. Lots of questions about how the titration process works. Lots that we don't know about this. But the main news about Vivani is that the FDA had sort of halted the trials on this. And so Vivani was given the green light today to go ahead with phase 1 trials using exenatide, which is like the OG of the OG GLP-1s. But it's been shown in early trials to really help reduce weight in rats and mice. And so I think what you'll see is, other companies moving into the space to offer different ways of presenting the medications that we're using. You've seen even some other companies get approved in the past couple of weeks. One company in particular, the name escapes me right now, but there's one company that will be looking at taking Tirzepatide and developing an oral formulation of Tirzepatide, which is really exciting. So this here, Vivani, V-I-V-A-N-I, way up on the stock market today as the FDA gave them the green light to go ahead and continue phase 1 trials for their implantable GLP-1 delivery system. So that is like a steady output of the medication over time. So that'll be a really interesting one to watch. Of course, we'll follow it super closely over here at OnThePen. That's why you want to make sure you follow me wherever you get your social media stuff, whether that's Facebook and the Zepbound for Weight Loss group, whether that's YouTube. Obviously, hit that like, hit that bell, hit that sub on YouTube. Make sure that you follow here for especially the long form content. Usually Thursday nights, we're doing a very formal live stream on YouTube called OnThePen with a special guest. But life has gotten in the way the last couple weeks with coaching baseball. I just don't have the time that I normally do to put into doing the show, but I wanted to meet with you all tonight, just share a little bit about some of the news. We've got some really exciting things happening behind the scenes that you don't get the privilege of seeing at OnThePen. We've had some conversations with some really, really awesome C-level executives at some really exciting companies doing exciting things. So you're going to see really interesting guests come on OnThePen in the coming weeks. But for now, we're just getting together, right? A little bit more informal than we usually do. So if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button. 61 people watching on YouTube, 13 likes. Would you hit that like button? Over on TikTok, smash that love button. If you enjoy my content, if you like the content that I make and the news that I provide to you, would you hit that like button? Send this to a few people that may find it interesting as well. And also, welcome to the folks watching in the Zepbound for Weight Loss group. Really appreciate you. Lots of really great great information shared on a daily basis over there. So if you want to join that Facebook group, it's Zepbound for weight loss. Moving on into some other news, we will see we've seen some really interesting news drop on the study for MASH. Mimi with the $2 super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat over on YouTube, Mimi. I really appreciate that. So what did we learn? Well, with Tirzepatide specifically, and we did get some Retatrutide numbers too, which I'll be doing a video on later this week, so you want to keep your eyes peeled for that. But over at OnThePen.com, if you're not following my website over at OnThePen.com, please do. We did a really great article that was a rundown on the MASH studies so MASH and NASH are kind of interchangeable. They used to call it NASH for non-alcoholic steatopathic hepatitis. I'm probably butchering that. But basically fatty liver, right? They call it MASH now. But so when this trial started, they called it NASH, so we're kind of using them interchangeable. But basically fatty liver, right? And what they found was there was a huge number of people, over half of the people who took Tirzepatide, which is the active ingredient in Mounjaro, who had fatty liver, MASH, NASH, whatever you want to call it. So 50% of people on the 5 milligram, 51.8% to be exact, were able to resolve their MASH, like get rid of their fatty liver, get rid of their MASH on just the 5 milligram dose of Tirzepatide. Now, as you move up to the 10 milligram dose, 62.8% of people were able to resolve fatty liver without worsening fibrosis, and 15 milligrams, 73% of people on the 15 milligram dose of Tirzepatide were able to reverse their fatty liver. Steve Condiotti just became a pen pal over on YouTube. Thank you, Steve, for joining the membership side of the YouTube channel, where you get access to custom emojis, you'll get access to custom content, you'll get a video stream of the podcast that we drop every Tuesday before the rest of the world sees that. So thank you, Steve, for joining over on YouTube. So 73% on the high dose, the 15 milligram of Tirzepatide, were able to reverse their MASH. That's amazing, right? But let's talk about fibrosis, because basically what you have with MASH is the accumulation of fat in the liver, in and around the liver, right? And so 73% of people on 15 milligram Tirzepatide were able to resolve that. But fibrosis is what starts to happen to your liver when scarring is a result of those fatty deposits. So over time, your liver becomes scarred, and that's called fibrosis. Once was thought to be irreversible. Listen to these numbers on Tirzepatide. So we know that 73% were able to resolve their fatty liver, but of the people who had fibrosis, and it's in stages, I believe 1 through 4, these are the numbers of people who were able to reverse their fibrosis by at least one stage. On the 5 milligram, interestingly enough, that's where the most success was seen with the numbers, go figure. 5 milligram, 59% of people were able to reverse their fibrosis by one stage. Guys, that is huge, because fibrosis, the next stage from fibrosis is cirrhosis, right? And that is a very bad way to go. If anybody knows anybody who has died of liver disease, cirrhosis is a terrible, terrible way to go. So in the fibrosis, whether you're stage 1, 2, 3, or 4, 59% of people on the 5 milligram were able to reverse that by a stage. So they got rid of their fatty liver, and they saw 59% saw a one-stage improvement in their fibrosis, right? This is on Tirzepatide 5 milligram. At the 10 milligram, interestingly, 53%, and then back up to 54% on the 15. Most saw the most improvement on 5 milligrams of Tirzepatide. So that's absolutely amazing. This is low-key. I mean, it's not a very sexy topic, liver disease, unless you're somebody who has it, because it used to be a sort of a very hopeless sort of diagnosis to get diagnosed with liver disease, because so much of it was thought to be irreversible. And now with this new class of medications, and I think you'll see this really rev up when you start to look at the Retatrutide numbers and the Survodutide numbers, Mazdutide numbers, these GLP-1s plus glucagon, because what glucagon seems to do is just eviscerate liver fat. And so these are really great numbers for Tirzepatide, but we're seeing even better numbers coming out of Retatrutide. And if you're all interested in hearing a little bit more about the Retatrutide numbers, put Retatrutide in the chat and we will go through what Retatrutide is doing. Thank you for being here over on YouTube. I see the chat going crazy. Just a reminder, on YouTube, I am live on a mobile device, which puts this feed through to the Shorts feed. And so if we get some squirrely comments, it's because we're getting new people in. So take the time to educate people as they come in and often say silly things. So we got Leslie wants to hear about Retta. The little plum wants to hear about Retta. Shannon wants to hear about Retta. Karen, thank you for subscribing over at OnThePen.com for email alerts. If you go to OnThePen.com/emails, you can sign up for email alerts. And we've been doing tons of emails on all the topics that we cover on the Pen. So everything that I just read from you was from an article we did a couple of days ago on Tirzepatide and the MASH trial. So sign up over there, check out the news articles. I think you're really going to enjoy it. That's onthepen.com. Really, really easy to find. Give me just a second to pull up the Retatrutide numbers and we'll get going on that as well. I'll take a breath and a drink. Happy Thursday night. It's good to be with you all. How's everybody doing? Drop it in the chat. Let me know how you're doing tonight while I pull this Retatrutide liver disease numbers up. Thank you for the gifts over on TikTok. Appreciate it. Getting so close here. All right, so let's get into the Samantha, thank you for signing up for emails over at onthepen.com. Megan, thank you for the $10 super chat over on YouTube. You are now in line to pick where I inject this. The biggest super chat of the night gets to choose where I inject my 10 milligram dose tonight, or 15 milligram dose. Don't want to shortchange myself by 5 milligrams. Nuh-uh. Thank you. Thank you for those who are interacting tonight. All right, so let's get into the Retatrutide numbers as it relates to fibrosis. So these are early numbers that we have for liver disease, and we're going to get into some very similar numbers. So these are against placebo numbers, right? So a lot more weight loss with Retatrutide than with Tirzepatide on average, where people saw on average at the high dose of 12 milligrams of Retatrutide, 25.9% weight loss, where I think we were closer to 22 at the high end on Tirzepatide. So obviously with more weight loss, you're probably going to see some added benefits. So let's talk about liver fat. So on 1 milligram of Retatrutide, people reduced their liver fat by 42.9% at week 24 and 51.3% by week 48. So at week 48 on 1 milligram, liver fat was reduced by 51% for those on Retatrutide. And I'm just going to jump to the 12 milligram and give you those numbers. Now, at the highest dose, the 12 milligram is where people saw the most benefit in their liver disease on Retatrutide, an 82.4% reduction in liver fat on Retatrutide at week 48. So, like I said, adding that glucagon component seems to really eviscerate liver fat. So this is really good news. And you're seeing similar numbers over on the survodutide side, which is GLP-1 and glucagon from Boehringer Ingelheim and Zealand Pharmaceutical. Of course, on the Pen just a few weeks ago, we had Scott Liberto, who was on, and he's in that clinical trial and has liver disease, and so he has seen some awesome changes in his numbers as well. So these were huge, huge numbers, and some people had up to 100% success in eviscerating all of their liver fat. So in the Retatrutide trials, you are seeing that on the 12 milligram, people are maintaining up to 93% of that liver fat that they lose. So even more promising results for Retatrutide in liver disease. And again, not the sexiest topic to talk about, but I'm telling you, if you have liver disease, this is such a game changer. And so I get really excited about it as somebody who has fatty liver disease. Naya says that she has kidneys that are no longer failing after starting on a GLP-1. Of course, there's been some really great news about kidney protection with GLP-1 medication, specifically semaglutide, but we're going to see information drop about tirzepatide as well. Lots of really good news that we've gotten from semaglutide over the last year. You're going to see this summer, even starting later this June, we're going to get full readouts on the sleep apnea trial for tirzepatide. We're going to get full readouts on the cardiovascular heart failure with preserved ejection fraction with tirzepatide. We're going to get osteoarthritis readouts. And so when you think about if you are somebody who is on Medicare, it's illegal for Medicare to cover weight loss medications, or I like to call them metabolic modulators, obesity management drugs. It's illegal for Medicare to cover that. Would you believe that? And there's legislation that will ultimately get passed called the Treat and Reduce Obesity Act. Talk to your legislators about getting that passed. But the Treat and Reduce Obesity Act will hopefully reverse that. But in the meantime, we've seen Wegovy access added for people who have heart failure. That indication came out of the SELECT trials, which dropped in about the fall. And just a couple of months later, Wegovy was added to a lot of formularies on Medicare Part D plans to allow access to Wegovy. Now, as we get readouts in as early as June in the heart failure with preserved ejection fraction studies for tirzepatide, you're probably going to see Zepbound added to Part D formularies as well as early as later this year. And of course, the osteoarthritis news that'll be coming later this year, as well as the full readout on sleep apnea. So definitely for sleep apnea and heart failure with preserved ejection fraction, you're likely going to see Medicare adopt tirzepatide on some Part D plans if you're somebody who has those issues. So that will be a really great expanding of access while we wait for the obesity indication to hit Part D plans once the Treat and Reduce Obesity Act is passed. That was a mouthful. Everybody hanging with me tonight? This is a lot between the Facebook, the TikTok group, and the YouTube page. But I want to give you all a chance to throw any questions that you have for me in the chat. If you would like to put a Q in front of your name or drop it with a super chat, that way I will make sure that I see it, because I got a lot to monitor here on a lot of different screens. I hope that you're doing well here. If you don't know me, I'm Dave Knapp. I'm the man on the Mounjaro. I cover all things Wegovy, Saxenda, Victoza, Trulicity, Mounjaro, Zepbound. If you've never heard of these medications, if you're coming here and the algorithm has you here and it's like, who's this guy? What is he talking about? These medications, whether we're talking about Ozempic is a household name and Mounjaro is a household name at this point, these are medications that you hear people using for weight loss. And really what they are is they're metabolic modulators. They are not the weight loss medications of old. These things are fixing what's metabolically and biologically broken in people who are type 2 diabetic, people who have obesity. And we could get into the science behind that as well. I'm saying Part D plans that handle the prescription medication side of Medicare will be adding these. Reta is short for Retatrutide, the triple G, which is in phase 3 clinical trials for Eli Lilly. Question, how long does the implant last? I don't know much about the implant. We're going back to the Vivani thing. So look it up yourself if you would like. Vivani is the name of the company. It's an implant that will basically allow you to not have to take a monthly injection, and it will just give you a slow release of the medication over time. Now, the trials that I read about were using exenatide, though I know they've been approved to go ahead with semaglutide, but exenatide was a daily shot. Like exenatide was the first GLP-1 medication that ever hit the market. And exenatide was a duplicate, basically a analog to basically what was a peptide that was isolated in Gila monster venom. So crazy story. There was this Gila monster, this lizard in the Arizona desert that kept biting people, and people would come into the doctor and he'd notice that they had low blood sugar. And he said, what is this? Could we isolate whatever it is in the venom of this thing and help to reduce blood sugar? And so that's how they discovered that there was a peptide that mimicked GLP-1, and that was exenatide. And so everything has kind of flowed out and evolved from there. So exenatide was the first one. Byetta, I believe, was the brand name, if you want to do a little bit of research on that as well. Alicia asked, does the triple agonist include GIP? Absolutely it does. It's also known as the triple G. GIP receptor agonism, glucagon receptor agonism, and GIP. Glucodependent insulinotropic polypeptide is what GIP stands for. That's what tirzepatide is. It is GIP plus GLP-1. This is a 5 times stronger GIP receptor agonist than it is a GLP-1. And so a very different medication from semaglutide, because what they found is when they activate those two receptors together, there's a synergistic property and you get a reduced amount of side effects over what people tend to experience with semaglutide alone, which is a GLP-1 analog, right? It's basically very chemically similar to native GLP-1. They just wrap it in fat molecules to make it have a half-life of a week, 5 days, instead of just mere minutes of the naturally occurring GLP-1 in your body. And GLP-1 is, of course, associated with delayed gastric emptying, stimulating the pancreas beta cells to release insulin when you need it, acting on the pleasure reward center in your brain, reducing the amount of glucose that your liver makes, which all makes you more efficient when you're with your insulin, which creates an environment that's easier to lose weight. That's why these get known as weight loss medications, because as a side effect of these medications, people do lose weight, but that's because it creates an environment in your body where it's actually more conducive. It levels. This is what I've been telling some friends who are on semaglutide. You're like, I feel bad, I'm cheating, I'm doing it the easy way. No, you're not. You're leveling the playing field. If you're somebody who has obesity, you are metabolically dysregulated. And what GLP-1, GIP, incretin mimetic hormones mimetics do is they level the playing field. They fix what's broken to allow you to have an environment in your body that is more conducive to weight loss, right? Things that normal people do to bring their pounds down. It's simply using a tool to level the playing field and make it a fair fight for you. If you are experiencing that fair fight, put fair fight in the chat. Any other questions tonight? I really appreciate you all hanging out with me tonight for a little bit, talking all things GLP-1, Mounjaro, Ozempic, Wegovy, Saxenda, Victoza, Trulicity, Mounjaro, and Zepbound. Good to have you all here. Make sure if you're over on YouTube, there's 99 of you here. Hit that like button. We only have 35 likes. Let's see if we can get that up there to closer to that 98 number. I would love to see it. Fair fight. That's right. It's a fair fight now for most people. And for some of us, it doesn't quite do everything we need it to do because there's more going on hormonally in the dysregulation department. There's more happening, and we need something to help level the playing field even more. And that's why we get excited on this channel about Retatrutide, about CagriSema. They found that diabetics, hey, if you're a diabetic and you haven't responded from a weight loss standpoint to existing GLP-1s, know that amylin agonism really shows promise in diabetics with weight loss. And guess what CagriSema is? It's the next new medication that will hit the market in 2026. And CagriSema is an amylin agonist plus semaglutide. So before Retatrutide comes out, like a full year before Retatrutide comes out, Retatrutide won't hit the market until probably, early 2027, where early 2026, hopefully, we will have CagriSema. And so CagriSema is an amylin agonist plus semaglutide, and diabetics tend to do much better than they do on older versions of GLP-1 medications, because again, many of us who are diabetic need the added benefit of a more level playing field because so much is hormonally dysregulated. Right? Is this making sense to everybody? Is everybody checking it? So people are asking me about a supply update. So June 4th, there was a supply update. It was the 2.5 was the only available dose for the longest time, like a month. And as of June 4th, for both Mounjaro and Zepbound, they added the 5 milligram and the 12.5 milligram. Now, if you follow OnThePen.com or you follow the YouTube channel, you know that Ro, the online telehealth juggernaut, their CEO Z Ritano came on a couple times. Once, and he did On The Pen, the show that we typically do on Thursday night. And Z basically said, hey, we got this tracker tool and we want your reports on the ground so that we can feed back data to the FDA. And what he came back in a follow-up and said was that actually the 5 milligram dose of Zepbound is actually the hardest. That's the one we get the most complaints about people having a hard time finding. So even though the 5 came off shortage in Zepbound, it's still the #1 reported medication that people have a hard time finding. So unfortunately, that is what it is. Hey, if you're over on YouTube, we got 40 likes and 99 people. Would you hit that thumbs up for me? Over on TikTok, thank you for all the likes. We're at 11,000 likes. Let's see if we can get that to 20,000. If you're enjoying what you're watching, please hit that thumb. Yes, somebody mentioned over on YouTube, We are really knocking on the door. If you're not subscribing, if you're watching tonight on YouTube and you want to help me out, please subscribe, because we are getting very close to 10,000 subscribers over on YouTube. And if you're watching on TikTok, the link is in the bio. Hit the Instagram button. It'll take you to YouTube. Go over, follow my YouTube channel. We're getting so close to 10,000. Yep, we covered the Blue Cross stuff earlier, and I've also done some videos on that, Lisa. Thanks, Allie. I appreciate it. Allie said she'd hit like again if she could. You can hit that little love button in the meantime, Allie. Just smash that little love button. So at this point, I'm going to end the live for the Zepbound for Weight Loss group. Thanks for being here, Zepbound for Weight Loss. Now, I don't think anybody's even jumped in there. But if you're watching this in hindsight, make sure you go over to OnThePen.com, sign up for email alerts, and follow me at all the social media channels to stay in touch with all the latest and breaking news on GLP-1s. All right, now I can sort of focus my attention over here a little bit more. Glad that you're able to find your medicine, Anna. Is CagriSema better than Tirzepatide? Yeah, I mean, the clinical trials are showing that CagriSema is a little bit better when it comes to weight loss. So it's two medicines, right? So it's semaglutide and caglarinotide. And caglarinotide is an amylin agonist, and semaglutide is a GLP-1 analog. So combining those medications is basically two different pathways that you're activating, and amylin is co-secreted in the pancreas with insulin and really helps to help you feel full. It's like a satiation hormone. And so they're starting to, basically activate different pathways hormonally that help people. Retatrutide will not hit the market until 2027. The phase 3 clinical trials for Retatrutide don't even end until late 2026. And so we won't be seeing Retatrutide in 2026. It'll be 2027 before we see Retatrutide. We will see orforglipron, which is a small molecule GLP-1 pill from Eli Lilly. It doesn't have near the weight loss that Tirzepatide or Retatrutide does, but it's closer to Wegovy, 2.4 milligram, and that will be available in pill form in 2026. And also available in 2026, we will have CagriSema. But CagriSema is going to be even more complicated to manufacture because CagriSema, like I said, it's two drugs, and they cannot combine semaglutide and caglarinotide together in one sort of mechanism. So it has to be a dual-chambered pen where you're getting like two different drugs injected into you. They're not mixed. And so CagriSema is going to be a tricky one to get pens for too. So low-key, I think that we could see, some... It's not going to do a ton to alleviate the supply shortages that we're experiencing here. It's going to have some challenges of its own. Anna, thank you for being here. I appreciate the compliments. I hope that you enjoy my content. If you enjoy my content, would you hit that thumbs up? Would you please hit subscribe over on YouTube? We're so close to 10,000 followers on YouTube. I'm going to take a break here from TikTok to just tell you exactly how many more subscribers we need on YouTube to get to 10,000. And maybe you, TikTok, can help share this and get your friends in here and encourage them to go over and like the YouTube channel. So YouTube, where are we sitting, YouTube? 9,764. 9,764. All right, so jumping back into TikTok here. 9,764 subscribers. Now that means we need 36 makes 8, 236 more subscribers on YouTube, and we will hit 10,000 subscribers. So if you're not following me on YouTube and you want to help us hit that goal, do me two favors. Go over, click the Instagram button in my bio, and that'll pull up YouTube here, and just click that and hit subscribe when you get there. And then come back and share this live with like all your friends. And then when they get in here in the chat, just encourage people what we're doing. We're going over, we're following YouTube. So we need 236 people to go over to YouTube, and that'll get us to 10,000 followers on YouTube. What a joy that would be to hit that milestone with you all. That would be super cool. Anything new that will be coming out in 2025? Like I said, I believe CagriSema is 2026. 2025, we may see towards the end of 2025, we may see high-dose Tirzepatide. We'll definitely see high-dose semaglutide by that time. So Tirzepatide, we'll be looking at probably the 20 and 25 milligrams of Tirzepatide, hopefully by the end of 2025, and then up to 8 milligrams, I think it's 8 milligrams, 7.6 milligrams, something like that, of semaglutide. in the form of Wegovy. And so a lot more weight loss at the upper levels of Wegovy, but that's semaglutide again, and many people can't handle the side effects of semaglutide. Some people can't fathom 1 milligram of it, let alone 8.4, but I think I could handle it. I'd love to be the guinea pig on that. But Mimi just shared on X. Thank you so much, Mimi, for the share over on X. Jen is getting affected by the shortage, just like a telethon. Keep those phones ringing. Yeah, it's like the Jerry Lewis telethon. I need to bring out Jerry's kids. Yeah, Sue the Dude, if you could do some updates in the chat over on YouTube and just let us know where we're at with the subscribers. If you are you on TikTok, if you go over and you follow my YouTube channel, come back here and tell us that you did. And I would love to thank you by name. If anybody has any other questions, you want a shout out, Oriolita wanted a shout out. Thank you for following and thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate it. Shout out to you, my friend. And shout out to Tay, who's watching over on YouTube and TikTok, and Sabrina, who's in both places. Thank you. I really appreciate you and the support that you give me. I had some meetings with some big companies this week who are really looking to invest in OnThePen and really help take this thing to the next level. And one of the things that I told them is, like, we've got such a uniquely wonderful and loyal community. And I say it at the end of every stream, and I truly mean it from the bottom of my heart. You all are the best part of what I do here. I don't do this and wouldn't do this if it weren't for all of you. You're such a wonderful community, and I so appreciate the way that each and every one of you support me and have lifted me up during a challenging couple of years with my health, and a challenging couple of years with my job, and it's just been a challenging couple of years with the health in our family. And you all have been such a bright spot as far as just encouragement goes. And I just want to tell you all that I thank you all from the bottom of my heart, whether you're watching on TikTok or YouTube tonight. You all have really, really, really helped me to stay motivated, stay engaged, and just given me kind of renewed purpose. And I just want you to know that I take the platform that you have given me here on the pen very seriously. And I don't take it lightly, and I don't take this community lightly. I really, really appreciate each and every one of you. You all have been so supportive, and I'm just seeing names that, Tay, Sue the Dude, Anna, Sabrina, Jen, Nebraska, so many of you, Mimi, you're just such wonderful supporters of the work that I do. Elle says she appreciates me, and I appreciate you, Elle. So thank you. We're trying to get to 10,000. Won't give Sue the Dude an exact number. We're trying to get to 10,000 over on YouTube. I know here, I can obviously pull it up on my computer here. So let's see where we're at. We were at 9,764, I think. So let's see where we're at now. Oh, it doesn't give me an exact number here either. Probably have to sign in. Thank you for bearing with me also on a night that I didn't have a show. Naya said that I've helped her on her journey. You're so welcome. You've helped me on mine. Okay. Ari called 18 pharmacies and finally found her 12.5. Thank you. I appreciate you, Naya. What change is coming to August? Well, in August is when Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan and their large plans will basically wipe out your PA and make you jump through a bunch of hoops. So they basically won't they'll quit covering GLP-1s around that time, unfortunately. Officially, they'll quit covering them in 2025, but after August 1st, they're going to make it nearly impossible for you to get a prior authorization. That's probably the best way that I could say it, which is super, super sad. And it's pushing people to compounds. 9,766, so not a super, super impactful call to action. But we are 234 subscribers away from 10,000 over on YouTube. So if you want to go over and give me a follow there, that'd be great. You're welcome, Anna. I'm so glad to have you here, Anna, and you're so such a valued member of this community. Oh, cool, Lisa. Usually it's a lot more formal of a live. It's more of a show. This time it's just kind of a chill hangout. What can we do to stop Blue Cross? I mean, tell your stories and hashtag them. PBM reform is one thing that you can do on a macro level. You can also reach out to your senators and just let them know your distaste for PBMs. There is some actionable reform happening around the country. There's something happening in Oklahoma currently. Class action lawsuits are something to look into because what they're doing is nothing short of discriminatory. So yeah, super, super frustrating. So yeah, we're hitting milestones all over the place over on YouTube. We're getting close to 10,000. We're over 30,000 on TikTok. We're knocking on the door of 20,000 in the Facebook group. So just some awesome milestones that we're hitting here on the pen, and we couldn't do it without you. My favorite football team is the Chicago Bears. Bear down. Well, we had a $10 super chat. I think it's time to inject and move on with the evening. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me on more of an informal night here. Who had the $10 super chat? Megan. Megan, are you still in here, Megan? If you are, let me know where I'm injecting this bad girl tonight. Thank you. We're to over 20,000 likes on TikTok on this live. Thank you for helping me get there. Thanks for working your thumbs out tonight. Appreciate it. If you're not, that mug is huge. Hey, Jim, how are you tonight? Megan, where do you want me to inject the 15 milligram? Right in the jugular, I hope. Or just really get this thing ramped up this week. Yeah, you'll still be able to get, compounds aren't going anywhere. They're going to get bigger, and, you know, I think that, yeah. Thigh. All right. Left or right? Da bears. Da bulls. Polish sausage. James, welcome back, buddy. How are you tonight? Good to see you, bud. Da thighs. Da jugular. Ditka. Polish sausage. Exercise was the secret. I love it. All right, let's get this bad girl going. Anybody wants to go over and sign up for... Listen. Beautiful. If anybody wants to go over and sign up for emails over at OnThePen.com, I would strongly recommend that. So many of you already have. I appreciate that. Follow me on all the other channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. We've been everywhere, man. We've been everywhere. Thank you for being here tonight. This was a fun one. Again, I apologize. The second pop is music to yours. I love it, Sabrina. James, thank you for the $20 super chat, buddy. That's very kind of you, bud. I appreciate it. It's good to see you back in here. And I'm glad to hear that you're having some success again, bud. Exercise was the secret. I love it. There's a lot of exciting things working here at OnThePen. A lot of exciting things that I am super thrilled to share with you in the coming future. Dave, how's your podcast rating now? I listen on Podchaser. Great question. The podcast is doing okay. I think, I really got a boost the week that Dr. Mike Albert was on. That podcast did very well. That's what dropped us into like number 12 in the country for a day. Since then, we've struggled to break the top 50 again. But yeah, we're continuing to grow. Everyone who goes over and gives the podcast a 5-star rating and review, that really helps. I want to read a couple of the... I want to read a couple of the nice things that people have left on the podcast this past week. Because, they're really, really touching what people have to say in their reviews. And I just, it warms my heart to read them. So Natalie, I think I know who you are, Natalie. She says, I've been listening to Dave for a while, and this podcast is informative and on the cutting edge of GLP-1 news and research. Highly recommend. That's a 5-star rating from Natalie. CSM72 said, love this podcast. Excellent review of the latest news, developments, and studies. great enthusiasm, as well as real research for details and accuracy. I learn something new every week about this exciting treatment area. Love the updates about medications in the pipeline. That was from Laura. So if you want to go over and leave it a 5-star rating and review, I greatly appreciate it. We have 93 ratings. It'd be great to get to 100. Dave, what's the podcast called? It's called On the Pen, the Weekly Dose. So, hey, Stevie, how are you tonight? Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate what you do for the community as well. Lots of really great content creators out there. Of course, Sabrina is one of them, and Stevie is also. Great advocate. Stevie is right there with me in the slow responder category, and super passionate. So good to have you here. Amanda says she enjoys all the information I share. Yeah, you're welcome, Amanda. Thank you. I appreciate you. Does it matter what platform we listen to the podcast on? No, not really. I mean, I think they all aggregate, although the YouTube. So I'm curious over on YouTube. This one's for my YouTubers. Dave is the #1 thirst trap holistic podcast in Albania. They love your boy in Albania. 100%. They love your boy in Albania. I want to hear on YouTube. So YouTube does a funny thing, right? They're getting rid of podcasts on Google. So Google Podcasts are going away, and they're moving everything to YouTube. Now what happens is I upload the video of my podcast for my members only. You get it for at least 24 hours before everybody else does, but it automatically uploads a version of the podcast that has no video. So you kind of get redundant videos. If that is super annoying to you, let me know in the chat, because I don't want it to be annoying to people, but YouTube does that automatically. It pulls my RSS feed of my podcast and automatically posts a video of my podcast, but all it is the thumbnail. If that's driving you nuts as subscribers, if that bugs you, please let me know in the chat and we'll do away with it. I've gotten some feedback from people, but it hasn't been like really bad, like a lot of unsubscribes or anything, and it gets a fair amount of views. But if it's annoying to you as subscribers, I definitely want to know from you if that redundancy is annoying. So drop it in the chat, YouTube. If Allie says it doesn't bother her. Ray finds it annoying that I can't see you. I've been waiting until later so I can see you. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's weird that it puts both of them up there. I mean, I'm somebody who definitely uses YouTube in a manner that most of the time when I use YouTube, I'm not watching it. I'm listening to it because I use it in the car. It doesn't bother Darium at all. Okay, cool. It's fine, says Mary. Okay, thanks for the feedback. It would not hurt my feelings if it was annoying to you. I can see where it could be. So, yeah. It's annoying that you can't see me. That's what Clark Kent was saying. He's like, I guess this is the one where we can't see Dave. I don't like it. Yeah, thanks, Linda. I appreciate that. So if you've enjoyed the podcast, you can go over to Apple Podcasts. Apple Podcasts is where I would prefer that you give it a 5-star rating and review. But if you watch it on Spotify, that's fine too. Wherever you watch it, just if you could give it a 5-star rating and review. But on Apple Podcasts, that's where we have the most ratings. We're at 4.9 stars out of 5 with 93 ratings. And so if we can get 7 more 5-star ratings, we'll be to 100. And that would, I don't know, it's just a goal, I guess. Fine. If it's fine with Jen Neb, it's fine with me. Fine with me. Thank you all for being here. Thanks again for dealing with a little bit different of a stream tonight. It's a pleasure to be here with you. This summer, a couple more weeks here of baseball, where Thursday nights are just a little crazy for me. But we'll get back to the normal format, and we're going to be bringing some top-tier guests on, so that'll be fun. James said you put so much work into doing this, and we appreciate you so much. Thank you, James. I appreciate it. I wouldn't do it without you all watching, so I appreciate the support, buddy. If Sue loved life anymore, his name would be Jim Osborne. Thank you, Naya. Well, we're going to call it. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight. I appreciate you. Y'all are the best part of the channel. You're the best part of what I do at On The Pen. Please go over and sign up for email alerts at onthepen.com, or choose to follow me at one other place. If you're watching on TikTok, go follow me on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, go follow me on Instagram. Would love that. Instagram is where you can see my short form content, and you can be sure to see it. So I'm pushing most people right now to YouTube and Instagram. So please, if you could go give me a follow over there, I'd greatly appreciate it. You're relatively new to my channel, 2 or 3 months I've noticed. Yeah, MJI kind of saying that you thought that's how it was done. Yeah, I don't love the way that YouTube does it. Like, I hope they can figure out kind of a different way to segregate like audio only stuff. So if somebody's coming looking for a video, it's very obvious that they're not going to get a video when they click on the podcast. So, yeah, thank you to Albania. All right, folks, may the Lord bless you all, keep you all, make his face shine upon you all, and be so gracious to each and every one of you. I wish all of you such a blessed rest of your week. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being the best part of what I do here on the pen. Thanks for hanging out with me a little bit tonight. I hope you all have a great night, and we'll catch you on the